Assalamu alaikum, my name is Amara Ahmed. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Subscribe to this channel if you don't want to miss any lecture. The second lecture is about the skin. The integumentary system is composed primarily of the skin and accessory structures. Those structures include hair, nails, and certain exocrine glands. Exocrine glands are those glands that have ducts or tubes that carry their secretions to the surface of the skin or into the body cavities for eliminations. Although the skin is not often thought of as an organ, such as the heart or liver, medically it is. An organ is any part of the body formed of two or more tissues that performs a specialized functions. As an organ, the skin has the largest and heaviest in the body. In an average adult, the skin covers about 21.5 square feet and accounts for approximately 7% of the body weight, or about 11 pounds in a 160 pounds person. It ranges in thickness from 0.04 to 0.08 inches, about 1 to 2 millimeters, but can measure up to 0.2 inches thick on the palms of the hands and the soles of the feet. The skin is areas is referred to as a thick skin. Skin elsewhere on the body is called thin skin. The skin has two principal layers, the epidermis and the dermis. The epidermis is the thin outer layer and the dermis is a thicker inner layer. Beneath the dermis lies the subcutaneous layer or hypodermis, which is composed of adipose or fatty tissues. Although not technically part of the skin, it does anchor the skin to the underlying muscles. It also contains the major blood vessels that supply the dermis and houses many white blood cells. White blood cells are also known as WBCs, which destroy foreign invaders that have entered the body through breaks in the skin. Now come to epidermis. The epidermis is made up of stratified squamous epithelial tissues. Squamous cells are flat and scale-like. Epithelial tissues cover the internal and external surfaces of the body and also forms glandular organs. Squamous cells are thin and flat-like, just like a fish scales. But stratified means simply having two or more layers. In short, the epidermis is composed of many layers of thin, flattened cells that fit closely together and are able to withstand a good deal of abuse or friction. The epidermis can be divided into 4 or 5 layers. Most important of these are the inner and outer layer. The inner or deepest cell layer is the only layer of the epidermis that receives the nutrients from the underlying dermis. The cells of this layer, called basal cells, and constantly dividing and creating new cells daily, which push the older cells towards the surface. What are basal cells? Basal cells produce keratin, an extremely durable and water-resistant fibrous proteins. Another type of cell found in the lower epidermis is the melanocyte. Melanocytes produce melanin, a protein pigment that ranges in color from yellow to brown, brown to black. The amount of melanin produced determines skin color, which is a hereditary characteristic. The melanocytes of dark-skinned individuals continuously produce large amount of melanin. What about light-skinned individuals? Those of light-skinned individuals produce less melanin pigment. Now come to freckles. Freckles are the result of melanin clumping in one spot. The outermost layer of the epidermis consists of about 20 to 30 rows of tightly joined flat dead cells. All that is left in these cells is their keratin, which makes this outer layer waterproof. It takes roughly 14 days for cells to move from the inner layer of the epidermis to the outer layer. Once part of the outer layer, the dead cells remain for another 14 days or so before flaking off slowly and steadily. Now come to the dermis. The dermis, the second layer of skin, lies between the epidermis and the subcutaneous layer. Much thicker than the epidermis, the dermis contains the accessory skin structures. In dermis, hair, sweat glands, and sebaceous glands are rooted. This layer also contains blood vessels and nerve fibers. The sebaceous glands are known as oil glands. and sudoriferous glands are known as sweat glands. The cells of the dermis are alive because of nourished by the blood and oxygen provided these blood vessels. Connective tissues also forms the dermis. In connective tissue, bundles of elastic and collagen fibers are formed. The collagen fibers are known as fibrous protein. These fibers provide the dermis strength and flexibility. The upper layer of the dermis has finger-like projections that extend into the epidermis. These are called dermal papillae. They contain blood capillaries that provide nutrients for the basal cells in the epidermis. On the skin surface of the hands and feet, especially on the tips of the fingers, thumbs, and toes, the dermal papillae form lobed and whorled ridges. These print patterns, known as fingerprints or toe prints, increase the gripping ability of the hands and feet. Genetically determined, the patterns are unique to every individual.